Skier Moxley with you from the City Park in Streeter, where it is indeed cold and rainy, for yet another update on the fuel-efficient Mother Bumper Awards. HWA management last night met in the early evening hours to hash out the final details for the Bumpies. We've talked about it a couple times on YouTube and Facebook. At approximately 6:45 p.m. Central Standard Time last night, everything has been set in stone for our Year in Review Award Spectacular. Saturday, January 14th is tentatively scheduled to be the date for the Bumpies. Tentatively, since some meddling kids want to do a wrestling show on the base of the House of Hybrid. Hey, just because we don't have to pay taxes on that base doesn't mean the base is public domain. What if it snows? Are you going to get Al Gore to melt everything? Nothing like the power of the supernova to kill everything nestled on God's green earth, so some punks from Spring Valley can come and wrestle in our backyard. It's winter. Take some time off, bitches. Anyways, January 14th is slated as the tentative date for the Bumpies. I'll be your host for the festivities, obviously. Billy Crystal, eat your heart out. 8 categories and 44 nominees have been decided on and will soon be voted on for the show. I want to remind our YouTube audience that Facebook is the only place where you can vote for the Bumpies. We will be announcing the nominations on both YouTube and Facebook in a short time, but make sure you like HWA's Facebook page because that is the only place where you can get your vote on. The keywords are HWA Hybrid Wrestling Alliance. On Facebook, like us, visit the page, and the questions are a mouse click away. And with that in mind, without further ado, let's begin the rundown of all the awards and contenders for the awards that you can vote on for Facebook. And we begin by listing the nominees for a category that we did not announce on the last update last week. HWA Management deciding to add the Bumpy Award for Tag Team of the Year. The Hybrid Wrestling Alliance strived during the summer to establish a tag team division, and many tandems from across the globe arrived on the scene to try and cash in on that award. Much like Tag Team Turmoil at Critical Condition, when 4 teams battled to determine the first ever HWA Tag Team Champions, 4 teams have been nominated and are fighting for your vote to see who is the Tag Team of the Year. The nominees for that award from Japan, the first team to make it into HWA, Double Dragon, Yin and Yang, accompanied by their manager, the Pimpin' Ninja, members of the Kazoku, alongside the Yellow Dragon, Low Key. From Mexico, you have the Familia, Alberto Grande, the man of 1,000 racist tit jokes, and Alberto Grande's brother, Cerveza, the drunken backyard luchador, as you recall. They had a couple of matches, a rivalry that went a good 2 months, starting at Scars and Stripes and ending with the Kazoku winning at Backyard Domination in that 6-man tag team warfare. SOS, Dimitri, and Minion also nominated. They were the former HWA Tag Team Champions, held the belts beginning at Scars and Stripes, and then lost them on November the 19th, 2 months, 2 days later, to Kid Kia and Devastating Dane Dempsey, who are the 4th team to be nominated. Kid Kia, Devastating Dane Dempsey, the proteges of Lotus, burst onto the scene in the middle of summer. Kid Kia debuted on October 1st on Saturday Mayhem. Devastating Dane Dempsey debuted, and in less than a month, with those two teaming up, they've become tag team champions and will probably defend them at Spring Breakout on March 17th, 2012. More on Spring Breakout later. Next nominees are for Newcomer of the Year. Now, Luke Livewire has tried to jam in my head that just because you are new to HWA, it does not necessarily make you a rookie. Well, just because you are, or were, the last faceless color commentator to join the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance does not make you the smartest one, Mr. Mountain Dew. When the word newcomer comes to mind, my first instinct is to say that a newcomer is an individual who has mastered the art of masturbation. But you know what? It's Christmas. Let's give the devil his due. The Newcomer of the Year award is given to the person who has made the most significant Impact and HWA, but who was not a part of the original HWA roster at our first show, Spring Breakout, on March 26th. So they would have had to join the company a little bit later, or after the first show. 5 candidates for that award. Kid Kia, the co-holder of the Tag Team Championships. He's impressed HWA management with his talents. Has defeated 3 members of the Syndicate of Salvation, Madman WK, Dimitri, and Minion. Had to defeat Dimitri and Minion to win the tag team titles. With his partner, the co-holder of the Tag Team Championships, and also nominated, Devastating Dane Dempsey. He's nominated, and he's dominated SOS as well. The 6-foot, 300-pound freight train, gunning for his second award at the Bumpies. The Playmaker Boomer Rowe was only 2 matches in HWA, but at Backyard Domination and 15 Minutes of Pain, he was one of 3 people to win their first HWA championship via the Hardcore title. And he's walking in and hopefully winning the Newcomer of the Year award. Also someone who won the Hardcore championship at Backyard Domination. The Queen of the Pre-Show, the first Lady of the HWA, Haley Blay, is also a nomination, also part of the Diz's crew with the manager Deuce. And finally, Sinister. Another newcomer has won the Internet Championship. He's won the Undefined title. He was a Tag Team Champion and a BCWV Champion. His championship resume very much high and filled. And those are your nominees for Newcomer of the Year. Now, the House of Hybrid has also seen its share of badasses flock this past season. These are men who talk the talk, walk the walk, give no damn who they have to step over, and most of all, have consistently displayed their dominance and smug attitudes week in and week out. This year has proven successful for many of the heels in HWA, but only one can be called Prick of the Year. And we're not talking Shakespeare. 6 men nominated for Prick of the Year. We talked about Sinister and his credentials, championship-wise, but he has been a loose cannon on the mic as well. First nominee for Prick of the Year. His old tag team partner, Genocide. As much of his prick as he can be, also the former mentor, the teacher of Sinister, was a tag team champion, almost came close to becoming HWA champion at Total Eclipse. Another nominee, Madman WK, the former leader of the Syndicate of Salvation, did not get pinned or submitted in an HWA ring until Backyard Domination when Brian Phoenix defeated him for the HWA Championship. Dimitri, the new leader of the Syndicate of Salvation, sold his soul to SOS. At Critical Condition, taking the reins from Madman WK at Total Eclipse, lost the tag team titles on that show, but also had a very successful year. Vajesus, the self-professed BCWV champion, saw his career cut short in October when he announced his retirement on Saturday Mayhem because of back, neck, and shoulder issues, which have prevented him from wrestling, but he talks the talk, even if he doesn't get the names right of who he's trying to diss. And finally, Captain Jack Foster, the former U.S. Army drill sergeant, coming into the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance in October. One of the many new faces we saw in the latter half of the year. And if you ask me, he probably needs a new pair of contacts. Moving on to the lighter side, anytime you come to an HWA show, you're going to see a lot of things that you have never seen before. The wild, the wacky, the insane, the hilarious. And 2011 has given us an apropos amount of the wacky and downright offensive. Which reminds me of a joke I once told the HWA crowd during an intermission at one of the shows. What do you get when you cross Lady Gaga with George Takei? Being caught in a bad bromance. Okay, it wasn't too offensive. The joke does smell like wild fried rice and steak, but you understand where I'm coming from, right? There were a ton of laugh-out-loud moments last year at the House of Hybrid, but there has to definitely be an award for the biggest LOL moment. For the LOL moment of the year, Collateral Damage, we saw the introduction by Jimmy Jack Daniels, whose cousin made the belt that was the Undefined Championship. At that first show, we saw Uncle Slam take the victory and become the inaugural Undefined Championship that would last all the way till October, when it was rechristened the Internet title. From No Limits, we talked about this several times. The infamous Schwann's ice cream truck publicity stunt happened in the middle of Poncho and Icky Thump, and if there weren't any countouts, we probably would not have caught Icky going after the ice cream. From Golden Opportunity, it was the Diz's birthday that weekend, and there was only one thing we could do for a man that loves his rap: rickroll him. Two moments from Saturday Mayhem, both belonging to Bejesus. First off, he invented a term that the Juggalos certainly didn't find offensive at all. Raise up your shockers and become a Vajizalo. The birth of Vajizalo. Also, about 1 month later, during Bump with the Thump, he pulled a Chris Jericho routine. Claiming to be the man of 1,004 opponents, he listed off the names and faces that he defeated in VCWV Championship matchups. And finally, the final candidate in the LOL Moment of the Year from Backyard Domination. Many said it would be Match of the Year, but it's being nominated as an LOL Moment of the Year. The match that must happen, Icky Thump versus the Man, almost went 20 minutes. And if you haven't seen the match, it is certainly probably the funniest moment, bar none, in HWA in 2011. I still demand a sequel. For every lighter side, there is the flip of the coin. And while some matches and memories provided comic relief, some just flat out stunned and surprised the HWA audience. And to take a term from Vajizas, we're calling them shockers. And no doubt the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance saw its share of shockers this past year. 6 more nominees in the category of Shocker of the Year. From Ground Zero, talking about Uncle Slam winning the Undefined title, of all people, Poncho won his first match in HWA via the help of his cousin Pedro, and his first championship. Poncho becoming an Undefined champion on that day. Second shocker, from Critical Condition. In one huge package, after Brian Phoenix won the HWA Championship from the Diz, Madman WTK fought his way into an HWA Championship match. He cashed in the Golden Opportunity briefcase. And another shocking moment, in the course of that matchup, Dimitri, a longtime friend of Brian Phoenix, sold his soul to the Syndicate of Salvation, giving Madman WK the HWA Championship and concussing Brian Phoenix for almost 2 months. From Saturday Mayhem, talked about the self-proclaimed VCWV champion. Had to retire the HWA audience in a moment of embrace. Applauded and cheered for Bejesus. Bejesus on the sidelines, but better than ever with his family of Sinister and Reginald Buxley. Also Sinister, a Shocker of the Year candidate going to him. Sinister beating up a woman after he defeated Icky Thump and took the Undefined Championship in a match that was supposed to be Icky versus Bejesus in a title for title situation. Sinister took the opportunity and he almost took the life of a woman. From Rapture, Brian Phoenix, after having been concussed, became the 11th man in a 10-man Rumble. Dimitri thought he won the Rapture Rumble. Brian Phoenix coming out of the back roads that Dimitri, Madman, and Minion left from after Critical Condition. Phoenix put the hammer to Dimitri and won the Rapture Rumble, and 1 month later would become a 3-time HWA champion. And the final Shocker of the Year nominee from Total Eclipse. Why, Jimmy, why? We left the fans asking after Jimmy Jack Daniels attacked Madman WK and Lotus. That we still do not know why he did it, and hopefully Jimmy Jack makes an appearance at the Bumpies so we could find out what was up with his involvement. The HWA roster has all prided themselves in our company's slogan, Bump Everything. That slogan has even found its way onto our now signature cookie sheet, and we literally bumped everything that the fans and the setting of the House of Hybrid have fist-fed us. Flaming tables, thumbtacks, truck beds, ladders, couches, worn furniture, computer monitors, exit signs, even hooker Barbie dolls. Sorry, Sicko. Probably seems a little bit tied together, choked up, and worn out. Well, for all the hundreds of bumps taken by the men, women, and even inanimate objects of HWA, there is an award for all their pain. The Bump of the Year. And believe us when we say there was plenty of discussion to go around about who had the best bump and who took the worst bump. But we have 6 nominees for that dubious distinction that could just about nominate 300. Your nominees for Bump of the Year. From the Macho Man Memorial Show, we're talking about vehicles. Bump Ram Tough, and we're talking about the Freak's involvement after he won the HWA Hardcore Championship in the chase between Voodoo, Icky, and OD40. Icky, OD40, and Voodoo tasted the mat after the Freak backed up his vehicle and got the hell out of Dodge. From Golden Opportunity, 3 stages of Hell Match, Chaos, Voodoo, a cult classic match that was. But the big bump in that matchup, the big spot, Chaos, his acid dropped from the top of the ladder onto Voodoo through a flaming table that won the fall for Chaos, but not the match, as later Voodoo would take the win in 3 stages of Hell. From Critical Condition, Curb Stomp Your Enthusiasm, Brian Phoenix, and the Diz and Last Man Standing, and from the top of the ladder, Brian Phoenix putting a curb stomp to the Diz that would ultimately give Phoenix his 2nd HWA championships. The fans going, holy shit, after that piece of work. From Saturday Mayhem, before Backyard Domination, Devastating Dane Dempsey once again nominated. A power bomb, a jackknife, onto Sicko, onto the top of a car, which is probably in a body shop somewhere, if Sicko isn't. Backyard Domination, 15 minutes of pain. We saw a lot of pain, a lot of spectacular moments in that matchup, but who could forget the final minute of that matchup? Jimmy Jack Daniels made the ring his domain, circled around him, thumbtacks. Sicko, Power Star, and American Veteran tasted the thumbtacks. On that day, Jimmy Jack en route to becoming HWA Hardcore Champion, his first title in HWA. And from Total Eclipse, talking about thumbtacks, Thumbtack Theater, a spectacular series of moves that saw Mike Houston and Kyle Kash taste the thumbtacks. Injectors, Houston, we have a problem. Russian leg sweeps, and even Mike Houston decided he was going to taste them himself. Mike Houston jumping around, screaming bump everything was a classic moment, and a lot of classic bumps this year. What will you vote for Bump of the Year? And just a brief reminder, Facebook is the only place where you can vote for the Fuel Efficient Mother Bumper Awards. We're giving you the clean slate to choose your favorite wrestlers, moments, and matches in 2011. All you have to do is like the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance Facebook page, and from there you are simply a click away from having all things HWA at your disposal, including the ballots for the Bumpies. Search HWA Hybrid Wrestling Alliance on Facebook. The ballots should be all available for you by Wednesday, December 21st. It is a day from when we're taping out here at the park. But we wanted to make the official announcement on all the nominees before we send you out to rock the vote. So check out Facebook. The 2 major categories in every wrestling organization at the end of the year when they're looking back at their companies are Wrestler of the Year and Match of the Year. And while at one point in the year we were given the term fuel efficient to describe our wrestlers in criticism of HWA, we do take our namesake very proudly, and even our haters inspire us. Who was fuel efficient? As a matter of fact, who put on the jets the most? Many wrestlers can aspire to having great matches, exhibit great charisma, and possess the powers to be a hybrid, but 6 men far and away did the most in 2011 to reserve their nomination for the 2011 Fuel Efficient Hybrid of the Year. As the rain is starting to come down, here are the nominees for the 2011 Fuel Efficient Hybrid of the Year. Brian Phoenix, a 3-time HWA champion, was also a hardcore champion. The co-owner of this company, who at one point in time said he never needed a championship belt to prove what he could do. but there's no doubt there is no better a representative of the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance and the HWA title than Brian Phoenix. Madman WK is nominee number 2 for Fuel Efficient Hybrid of the Year. Former HWA champion himself, former leader of the SOS, had not been pinned or submitted in a single match in HWA this year until Backyard Domination. Nominee number 3, the freestyle fighter from Chicago, another former HWA champion, the third and final man to hold the HWA title this year. It is the Diz. Was HWA co-owner for a time with his win over Brian Phoenix at Ground Zero. He's upped his game in the music world as well as in the wrestling ring. He's had some spectacular matches with Madman WK and Lotus, among many other superstars. The Freak. He is a 6-time hardcore champion, the only belt that he held this year. Madman WK's second-hand man in SOS. Suffered a couple of setbacks, a couple of injuries, but was still had a very successful year with his 6 hardcore title reigns. Most championship reigns in 1 year by one person in the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance this year. Nominee number 5, Mike Houston, was a part of the first match of the first show in HWA history. Spring Breakout was a championship tournament qualifier. Lost to Brian Phoenix, was away from HWA for about 5 months. And then he came back and picked up right where he left off. Has had some spectacular hardcore matches, wrestling matches. The brother versus brother contest with Kyle Kash come to mind. They call him Hardcore Houston for a reason, and he has definitely proven it this year and is one of the popular HWA stars. And nominee number 6, the final one to round out this category, the Silent Killer. Call him Chaos, call him Lotus, call him whatever you will, but this man has also dominated the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance. You know that he was taken out by Madman WK at Golden Opportunity on July 23rd after he had unmasked himself minutes before. Came back with a vengeance. Those are your nominees for Fuel Efficient Hybrid of the Year. And finally, after 140 matches at the House of Hybrid last season, I mentioned it was going to be a toughie for members of HWA management to determine the top 5 matches of the year. Well, they did it, and I certainly can say that all 5 of these matches that have been selected for this category can and do stake a claim to being the match of the year in the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance. And so here we go, your nominees for the match of the year are, in chronological order, from Critical Condition, Last Man Standing, Brian Phoenix versus the Diz. It was all about retribution that day for Brian Phoenix. Do or die. Either he won the HWA Championship and his 50% ownership of the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance back, or the Diz would go stir crazy with power. And in the end, after a brutal contest, Brian Phoenix taking the HWA Championship for a second time. From Rapture, Madman WK versus Lotus for the unannounced stipulation at the beginning of Lumberjacks surrounding the ring. All hell broke loose. Jimmy Jack had to restore order, sending all the Lumberjacks to the back and making it a fitting one-on-one contest, and both men pulling out the stops in their first match of 2 with, and I gotta admit, one of my top 5 endings to a match this year. Madman WK shot to the ding-ding, retaining his HWA Championship in a match where, up until that point, Lotus was perhaps the man, had several great chances to dethrone the King Midas of the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance and take the HWA Championship for himself. Speaking of Lotus, he was involved 1 month later at Backyard Domination in a triple threat #1 contendership match where the winner would go to Total Eclipse to face Brian Phoenix. The Diz also involved a former HWA champion trying to go for a 2-time run, and Genocide, all 3 men going back and forth and providing plenty of spots and high marks in that contest. Madman WK versus Brian Phoenix, the most anticipated HWA Championship match of the year. If Brian Phoenix lost this match, he would retire from wrestling and be gone pretty much from the HWA. And started in dusk and ended in pitch dark almost, but it was a great contest that day. Technical difficulties right in the middle, but Jesus tried costing Brian Phoenix his career. Lotus came in, tried costing Madman WK his title. At one point, Brian Phoenix thought he lost. His leg was on the side, fans were crying. Jimmy Jack restarted the match, and from the top of the ladder, Phoenix rising. 1, 2, 3, Brian Phoenix, HWA champion for a third time. And from Total Eclipse, the rematch from BYD, brother versus brother. Mike Houston versus Kyle Kash. A match beyond words. They used practically everything in this, the first I Quit match in the history of the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance. Flaming tables, thumbtacks. We talked about thumbtack theater earlier. Both men just giving it their all at Total Eclipse. They put together another instant classic. Both men busted open. The fans chanting, "Holy shit, match of the year. This is awesome." Another incredible match. What more can you say? And there you have it. The selections have been made and announced, and now it is up to you to decide the cream of the crop. The ballots will be posted on Facebook starting tomorrow. That's Wednesday, the 21st of December. For your YouTube fans, if you place a comment for voting for Bumpy candidates in any of the videos on YouTube, we will not count it. Facebook is the only place you can vote for the show. HWA Hybrid Wrestling Alliance are the keywords to get you hooked up to those polls. And the award spectacular that is the Bumpies is tentatively scheduled for Saturday, January 14th, 2012. If the date does change for the award show, we'll let you know. We also want to remind you the second season of the Hybrid Wrestling Alliance begins on March 17th, 2012. St. Patty's Day, the date for Spring Breakout 2012. Incidentally, March 17th, 2012, the 10-year anniversary of Hulk Hogan vs. The Rock. A very special, classic match from WrestleMania 18. Hulkamania was reborn on that night. And two men that are quickly becoming the cornerstones of our company will fight on that day. Brian Phoenix and Mike Houston will battle one-on-one for the HWA Championship. The two men that kicked off this shindig last year will kick off the second year with the biggest prize in HWA on the line. Should be a great one, and we'll update you more on Spring Breakout in the months and weeks ahead. It's starting to rain here. Obviously, I need to blow my nose and get out of the cold and, stay in hiding during the holiday season and up until next year. So, for now and until January 14th, this is Skeeter Moxley for your Bumpies selection show. We will see you in the new year when we deliver the fuel-efficient Mother Bumper Awards. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody.